So, Heather, we've been talking about impeachment. It's obviously the big story of the week. If the Democrats do it properly, if they do it properly, it should be the big story for the next, I don't know, 20 weeks, 30 weeks. I would like to see some iteration of what we saw with Corey Lewandowski and I think it was Barry Burke, one of the Judiciary Committee's attorneys. And I'd like to see at least one of those a week where we can get these people in front of the committee and question them, not just on the Ukraine call and the threatening of the Ukrainian president or the blackmailing, I should say. You don't get your money that Congress has appropriated to you unless you kick some back to me, which in the form of some type of a scandal of Joe Biden. But there's obviously a ton of other things that should be taken up by the Judiciary Committee. If they do that, we're going to be talking about it over and over again. But the other story that we're going to be talking about, without question, is the Democratic primary. And now that we are in late September, starting to see more people engage, we're starting to see the race, the dynamic of the race change a little bit. Joe Biden trending downward, not in free fall yet, but it sure feels like he's getting close to that there's going to be some type of like threshold he passes where he's going to drop much more precipitously. Elizabeth Warren trending up, Bernie Sanders more or less staying the same, maybe a slight trend up, but more or less staying the same. And then everybody else is basically in the dust. What is your sense of what you're seeing out there right now?
Well, I think, first of all, let's make it clear. I don't think Joe Biden, if he is slipping, it has anything to do with this Ukraine story. I don't think that's been relevant because this slide has been happening for a long time. That's happening on the merits, I think, among the Democratic electorate, which has a fondness for him and believes, he's very familiar. He was the front runner because, he was a VP. That's often true with vice presidents who run. In the beginning, they're popular, on the heels of a popular presidency. People go, yeah, let's have a little more of that, whatever. But as the campaign has worn on, he has worn less well for a million reasons, which you and I have discussed at length on the show in the past few weeks. And that was before this Ukraine scandal broke. So I don't want anybody to think that that's actually had the effect that Donald Trump wanted it to have. Now, it may affect things going forward a bit. Maybe it will propel his slide, or maybe people will even rally around him. I don't know. But up to now, the dynamic that you just talked about of him slipping, Warren rising, and Sanders staying more or less the same has been true without any of this. So Donald Trump's interference in the election so far has not been is not relevant to what we've been seeing in the primary. So, looking at this, though, however, there are a couple of other things that I think that pertain to Donald Trump and the impeachment and everything else. I think Warren is the one who has come up, one of the reasons why she's been rising is that she has come up with sort of a holistic message about anti-corruption, impeachment, and reform. She's packaged this all in a way that shows that, first of all, an understanding of what she's up against with the Republicans and a willingness to sort of meet it head on. And that's new. It's different than Biden, who's kind of following the Obama playbook of kind of, well, can't we all get along? There's no red states and there's no blue states, there's just the United States and all that stuff. Or Sanders, who has a much more revolutionary message. Hers is kind of this entire picture, and I think that may be appealing to people. I don't know this, but that's how I see it. And so I think her rise has something to do with that, and has something to do with the fact that she is consistently, and has been from the beginning, has come out reflecting the wishes of the Democratic base to impeach Donald Trump. She said
Right.
She said it the day after the Mueller report came out. She does not mince words. She's not, circling around it. And, she's really, of the front runners, she's the one who is the most adamant about that. And just as we were talking in the earlier segment, that impeachment has been brewing among the Democratic base for months now. And the August recess, they were coming in their faces, these representatives from swing districts and from, hardcore blue districts, really pressuring these people to do something about this. And so Warren reflects that, and I think that that's important. I mean, it works for me. I mean, I don't think I'm making any secret of the fact that I like that, that she's doing that. I mean, I've been for it from the beginning. But I do think that's had an effect. So to the extent that this impeachment argument is affecting the primary, I think that's where we're seeing it, is in her rise, I think. And it's not just that, of course. I mean, she's, a good campaigner. There are a million reasons why she's doing well. But I do think that is part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you look at her first big bump, it came after her very vocal call for impeachment. Yeah. It's interesting. And I think, broadly, I think impeachment hurts Joe Biden a little bit, oddly enough, because while she's been calling for impeachment, she has a whole nother set of plans. Bernie Sanders, same thing. They both have, Sanders is, I think, arguably more ambitious, and of course has, I think, from a left perspective, has a little bit more offer on a foreign policy perspective. But they both have ambitious plans. And Joe Biden has, his representation as a guy of real integrity and going to bring America back, make America greater than great again is sort of Joe Biden's slogan of some sorts. And so I think that's a little bit problematic for him. It's going to be interesting to see, because I think over the next 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to get a real clear picture of the durability of Joe Biden's lead. And again, I think it is going to be one of those situations where he's going to cross some threshold. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's a national number. I don't know if it's within a state or two, where his decline is going to be precipitous. And, he has a big lead in South Carolina. That is the firewall for him. But it's not statistically, it wouldn't be a shock if he won New Hampshire and Iowa, but I would be very surprised by it at this point. And I think the one other question in terms of the status of the race, because I do think Warren, once, as a function of impeachment, and once she got out of sort of the at least within the context of the Democrats, the radiation blast from her DNA stuff, which is, it's going to come back up in the general election without a doubt. But she seems to, at least in the context of the Democratic primary, gotten past that, which is important, right? Because you don't want a sizable segment of the Democratic Party to have a problem with you going into a general election. I mean, I think part of that happened to Hillary Clinton, frankly. But we got to take a break. We're going to talk more about this and some other stories in the next hour. I'm Sam Seder. This is Ring of Fire Radio.